Good morning. So, gardening can be an expensive hobby. I think anybody who's a gardener knows that between the cost of water, the cost of plants, the cost of soil, the cost of pots, the cost of seeds, the list goes on and on, not to mention your time. Gardening's not cheap, and I think most of us do it because we really love it and we want to provide healthy food for our families that we couldn't get otherwise. So this is why I make a lot of my own things, and I try to find ways of doing it that that aren't very expensive. And so a few years ago, I was looking into how to start seeds and ran across a bunch of different ideas, and I thought, I saw people doing this in egg cartons, and so I tried that. And I saw people doing the seed, those blocks, soil blocks, and so you can get this cutter that will cut your soil into blocks and make different size, shape blocks of soil. It's a neat idea too. I started thinking about what do I have around the house that I could use to create little seed pots. About the same time, I inherited a bunch of Jiffy Pots from my dad, which are, you're probably familiar with them. They're these sort of expanding peat pellets that they start off as a flat disc. They look like a poker chip. You add water to them, they expand. They become, a little planting pot. There's downsides to them. The wrapping doesn't really biodegrade all that well, so you find it all over the place in your garden when you use it, but it's handy. I wanted to try them, and I did, and they were great, but I'm not going to go out and pay 15 to 20 cents per pot for every seed that I start, because it just gets really expensive, and I'm spending enough money on electricity to light my seedlings and all of the other things that are involved in growing seeds. All I need to do is add another $20 or $40 to my seed growing process in the spring. So what do I do? It occurred to me at the time that we had all of these rolls from toilet paper that we were recycling, and maybe I could use those. And I looked up online, and it turned out other people did the same thing, and they had all kinds of crazy ways of like folding them and and et cetera, et cetera. And I tried a few of these things. I found that when I folded the bottoms, you'd set the thing in your seed tray, and it would kind of tilt all over the place. And so I wasn't satisfied with the way that that people were doing it. And it usually was one toilet paper roll per seedling, the way that people were doing it. And I thought, gosh, the toilet paper roll is about the height of two of those Jiffy Pots once you rehydrate them. So I wondered, is there a way for me to get two little pots out of every toilet paper roll? So I started saving toilet paper rolls, and I have a great stash of toilet paper rolls at this point. And my wife is wondering, why do we have so many toilet paper rolls? And she doesn't watch my videos, so she'll never know. Anyway, so I devised a method to use to make two pots out of each toilet paper roll, so it's even more cost effective. Anyway, just a little disclaimer here. There are a lot of ideas that people put out there online, and I've tried them and had failure or success. Sometimes they work great and sometimes they don't. Sometimes I think, maybe I better tweak this, and that works. Sometimes I tweak it and it makes it worse. This is a process that is imperfect. The toilet paper roll method in the past when the toilet paper rolls have been too damp, I have ended up with mold on my toilet paper rolls. So you see here, this is a toilet paper roll that I'm going to show you exactly how I do this. And the outside will get all this white mold on it if it's too damp. So This year, my new improved model is I've taken the toilet paper rolls and I baked them in the oven at about 270 degrees. The reason is that that is a temperature that is warm enough to kill most spores that can cause that kind of mold on paper. So when you have these toilet paper rolls sitting around for a long time, they may even come with spores in them, I don't even know. But if you bake them, my hope is that they will not produce mold as fast. They'll probably still produce mold if it's too damp in the seed starting tray. And you kind of have to keep these seed starting trays partly enclosed because you want to make sure that they don't dry out too quickly. So you're setting yourself up for potential for mold. So it's important to start with everything as sterile as you can get. So I sterilize the rolls by baking them for 30 minutes at about 270 degrees. You have to keep an eye on them. You don't want to start a fire, obviously, so don't just put them in and then go to the basement. Stay in the kitchen, check them every 10 minutes or so. 30 minutes should be sufficient, at least from what I understand, to kill whatever mold might already be on the toilet paper rolls. Next, you need to start with a sterile seed starting mix. And that can just be like straight up peat moss. You can use coco coir, you can use vermiculite. I actually make my own seed starting mix, and I will tell you about how I do that tomorrow. Today, I'm talking about the pots. So you have to tune in tomorrow to find my secret recipe, which isn't really that secret or really that great, but it works every year for me, and I'm sure there are improvements that I could make. Anyway, as for the pots, that's what we're talking about today. So once I've baked these things and cut them up, I end up with these little pots. So this is just a toilet paper roll. It was about that long. I cut it in half. Okay. So how are you going to get the soil to stay in? And that is the magic of this whole process. I was always, dubious of, putting soil into something with a giant hole in the bottom. But I thought, what if I do this and I just do it set it down and push the soil into it? And that seemed to work. And then I realized that I could actually do this and flatten it out, push it in a little bit tighter in the bottom here, and then a little looser on top so that the seeds have plenty of gaps for their new roots. The amazing thing is, it stays. The soil stays. It's not soaking wet. It's just damp. So I'm going to show you. Just I've got a little thing of soil here, and I've got my homemade, baked, sterilized, hopefully bacteria and spore resistant toilet paper roll, cut in half. And now I'm just adding soil to this. And the first little layer down here, I pack in a little bit. You don't want it super tight, but it just needs to be a little bit tight. Look at that, it's staying. So then I just fill it up the rest of the way. And now I am not packing it too tight. I want there to be enough room for the roots, enough space between the bits of growing medium so that the roots aren't struggling. So now I made another one. All right, so I can usually actually make these a whole lot faster. I'm kind of doing it slowly just to demonstrate. But I find them really handy. When I put them into a growing container, you can kind of see this from the side. I don't jam them right up next to each other. You want to have a little bit of airflow, and that does help to keep mold down. That's another thing that I've improved on the original model, where I had everything cramped in together and found that everything was getting moldy. I give them a little space in between each other, and then I fill something like this up. I can cover this with a clear plastic, put it under a grow light, and I have in here probably fit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by 1, 2, probably 15 of these into this little container. And it works pretty well. So, just also to clarify about the mold, it wasn't the end of the world that I got mold on these. It didn't mean I had to throw my seeds away. All I had to do was take the moldy pot and snip it down the side, get rid of the paper part, throw it away during the transplant. So, and once I pulled off the toilet paper roll, threw it away, it actually held together because of the roots of the plant were holding the soil together. I could pretty easily plant that wherever I wanted it, repotting, and it wasn't a big deal. But the mold, I'd rather not have mold on my seed pots. It's kind of annoying. I found that I had the same problem with mold on egg carton like cups to use for seed starting. Some people use egg cartons for seed starting. When I did that, the whole thing got moldy. And of course, I realized afterwards I really should have sterilized those too. So how do you do that? Once again, in the oven for 270 for 30 minutes. And just be really careful to keep an eye on it, because you're getting kind of hot in there when you get to the sort of the 270 mark. I've seen people say that you put it in for 200 to 250, and the problem with that is a lot of spores still can live unless the temperature gets over 266 degrees. So that's kind of the magic point that I found just by doing a little research, where you can kill most of your fungal spores is somewhere in the 260s. So I say 270, just gets us over that mark, put it in there for 30 minutes. There's no reason that they should still be alive by the time you take it out. There's also no reason that they won't be dropping on there as soon as you take it out. So it's just something to bear in mind. There's always going to be the possibility of getting a little bit of mold when you are seed starting, especially when you have a paper or pot that's not made of. This is one of the reasons that people sometimes have them made out of compressed peat moss, because that doesn't mold. At least it takes a lot more for that to mold. So anyway, but this is my secret method, and now it's not a secret. I hope that you enjoy whatever you're doing in terms of seed starting this year. I would love to hear your feedback on this particular method. Have you tried toilet paper rolls? Have you ever tried heating them to the point where you kill spores? And what were your results? And do you have a method that you would like to share with us so that we can try that in the future too? Thank you so much for joining me this morning. I hope that I'll see you tomorrow. And like I said, tomorrow is about what I use for a homemade DIY seed starting mix. So, and it's something I've been using for a couple of years, and it's been working for me. That's about as much as I can say about it. In any case, I hope you give me a thumbs up here, and I hope you'll leave a comment down below. I would really love it if you would subscribe to this channel. I'm gaining followers every couple of days, and appreciate that. Kind of hoping to get the word out to more people as time goes forward. You can find me also on Instagram, and that is at Food Forest Garden Club. And you can also find our website, which is still under development, foodforestgardenclub.org. Still under development as of the end of January 2021. All right. Look forward to seeing you soon, and enjoy your coffee.